I'm really excited, and as you would you sent over, the images and the videos and all that. So I want
Yeah,
to make sure to jump right on into it. But
sure.
just as a quick little intro, can you let the folks know where you were taking us this morning?
Yeah, I have spent a lot of time sort of, the idea of what leadership is. There are all these leadership books, and everybody got to take a hot take on what a leader is.
Mm,
And I think that one of the things that I've just been struck by is I see, particularly for Black leaders and specifically for Black female leaders, I see in us a divinity that makes us natural leaders.
mm,
And I think oftentimes when we step foot into corporate world, we are often evaluated on a standard that can be biased against us.
mm.
So, what I wanted to do today is sort of share my take on sort of the paradigm for what success looks like,
Yeah.
and, and really show folks examples of how we've had it in us all along. Like
Hmm.
these are traits that are innate to us, and I have a funny way to do that. So, anyways, let's get started.
Yeah.
Let me share my screen here. All right. So this is the rubric or the framework that I was talking about when I think about what elements make up a successful leadership.
Right.
And on sort of the one hand, obviously, successful leaders have the skill set. This is the do you have the technical aptitude, the technical capability to be able to perform a role?
Right.
And so these are sort of table stakes. And most
Hmm.
Black women, as Black women as the sort of most educated group in this country, we'll
Mm.
go and get a degree on you, right? We'll get two or three or four degrees
Hmm.
on you.
Hmm.
But it's also the experience. So, base foundation of leadership is the skill set. Now, the skill set can either be enhanced or denigrated by the structure that you're carrying out this leadership ability in. And
Gotcha.
so, by the structure, I mean the companies or corporations that we work for.
Hmm.
Are there inherent biases in achieving or leadership in the organization
Right.
due to systemic hurdles or microaggressions, gender and racial stereotypes? All those things piled on can
Hmm.
actually hurt leadership, and particularly leadership amongst Black people of color, and particularly Black women. Now, what can even out those two, skill set versus structure,
Okay.
is the presence and abilities of our leaders to have high EQ, so emotional quotient, emotional intelligence, and
Hmm.
basically, EQ is basically, do you understand the vibe? Do you understand the vibe in yourself? Do you recognize your emotions and your feelings, and how they're being affected by your environment? And do
Hmm.
you recognize those in others? So
Right.
that is, in a nutshell, what EQ is. And so what I've done today is pulled out a few examples that illustrate why I believe Black women, particularly, have really high EQ vibes.
Hmm.
Uh, so let's
Now,
see. Oops. Go ahead.
as you're moving us forward, the two things that jumped out to me here. The first is experience, which I think people tend to think of in a very narrow way.
Yep.
And not to step on where you're going, but I love when you've talked about it, that we're talking about experience.
Yeah.
So your life to this point
Yeah. Not
is
just the
experience.
job
Hmm.
experiences, but the experiences you've accumulated over your life.
Yeah.
And what will happen is, organizations will be very prescriptive about what type of experience they're talking about. And I
Got
think,
you.
one of the things that we can learn to be better at is
Hmm.
help bridging the gap between sort of non-technical, non-traditional experiences and the kinds of experiences that we have had in our lives, so
Hmm.
that people understand, yeah, I may not have led a group of 10 people, but let me show you where I have led, and
Got
being
it.
able to sort of link the experiences that you've had in your life, so that to show that they can to kind of carry off over some of the technical, traditional experiences that corporations look for.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I'm not going to spend a lot of time on skill set or structure. I think those can be
Hmm.
topics benefits for others. I really
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
spend a lot of time today specifically on this EQ one because I think EQ is actually the most important leadership
Hmm.
dynamic to be able to have, even beyond skill set, and even beyond a helpful structure. Your
Hmm.
ability to understand the situation and be emotionally resonant in being able to solve problems
Got it.
is more important to me than your technical skill set. So I wanted to spend today talking about the areas in which I think Black people and Black women specifically demonstrate really high EQ. And I'm going
Okay.
to do it in a kind of funny way. I'm all over social media all the time. And when I'm laughing at something on TikTok or laughing at something on Twitter, I'm also seeing sort of the inner truth of the joke. And so there's
That's
some
it.
funny things on social media that I think illustrate some of these. So I'm going to jump right into them,
Yeah,
and we'll go over them as we go. So
for
the
sure.
first trait that I think I see in spades amongst Black leaders is this direct, honest communication. And have you ever heard of the program Radical Candor? It's a book and it's also
No.
a workshop. It's really, really very valuable. I invite people to sort of look it up on Google. But
Great.
basically, it's a 2 by 2 paradigm that says if how much you care about something is on the y axis,
Got it.
and your ability to be direct or indirect is on the x axis. You're trying to get into the upper right quadrant where you're giving feedback to people because you care about them or the situation and you
Mm-hmm.
want to be direct. So, for example, if you care but you're indirect, not helpful to somebody. If you're not
Right.
telling people exactly what they need to understand, it might
Mm-hmm.
be nice. You're being very nice, but you're
Mm-hmm.
not being a good leader because direct and
Mm.
nice have to go together. And conversely, if you're being kind of a dick to somebody,
Right.
meaning you don't care about them, but you're being direct,
Then
that's just brutal honesty. That's just stupid.
yes.
That's brutality. That's not helpful to
Mm-hmm.
people. So the goal, according to Radical Candor, is that you're trying to be caring and direct. And I think this is
Yes.
an attribute that I see a lot. So here's an example
Mm-hmm.
via the interwebs.
My grandma didn't like my mac and cheese at Thanksgiving this year. Listen to her discuss her disdain.
Your salmon, your shrimp, whatever. If it's good, it's good. But you also have to be able to take some criticism too. And your macaroni and cheese has a long way to go.
Okay.
And I've told my sister, I said, I'm going to tell Io that I want her to come learn from you. Well, I don't hurt her feelings because she said, who made the macaroni and cheese? I said, Io did. I know she knows how to learn how to make a white sauce. Yes, she does. I said, I'm going to send her to you. So she knows at some point you are going to be coming to her to learn how to make it.
Okay.
Trust me, there's something there to be learned, okay?
Okay.
Because if your macaroni and cheese ever gets as good as my mother's, I'll be having you make it all the time.
Okay. It just wasn't good this time.
No, it's never been good.
I mean, wow.
That's not meant to hurt your feelings. It's meant to make you better cook.
Okay.
Right? So funny, but
Hilarious.
that is very direct and honest. What did she say? She said, listen, I got to be honest with you. Your mac and cheese ain't good. And if I'm being really honest, it ain't never been good.
Right.
But the caring part is I'm going to send you over to my mother. She going to get you straight. She going to teach you how to do this because I care enough. And the incentive,
Mm-hmm.
when you're really good at it, we're going to have you make macaroni at Thanksgiving every year.
Right.
That was a leadership lesson that
Mm.
I see and hear in my family. I see and hear it in my friend groups. And I want us to stop just thinking about that as, oh, that's something that we do at home.
Mm.
That same spirit is what we're bringing into corporate America. Now, corporate America don't like it,
Mm.
but it's
That was
true.
the next thing I was gonna ask. Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
No, no, no. I was just gonna say, what do you find is the response to it? Because there's a maturity to sit on that couch and hear that and get your feelings hurt a little bit, but go, okay, you know what? Let's do it.
Well, here's the thing. I think that, and this is in my own personal experience,
Mm-hmm.
you can't get to that level of radical candor if you haven't nurtured a trusting relationship. So,
Mm.
I think many problems that bosses effectuate amongst their direct reports is that they believe in positional leadership. Because I am your boss, I get to say whatever I want. And I absolutely disabuse that notion. Your job as a leader of people is to cultivate trust so that you can have the kinds of conversations this grandma just had with her granddaughter. Obviously, the grandma and granddaughter dynamic, they already have love and
Sure.
respect for each other. Your job as a leader, not necessarily to make people love you, but you got to cultivate. You can tell by the way that girl took the feedback that she trusts this woman's opinion. So your job as a leader is to be cultivating the trust of people so that you can give them the, hey, look, I know you tried on that report and good. I'm glad you got a chance to do it, but that was garbage. And so we
And it
got to
can't
do
go.
better. And let me help you do better. Can I send you to some training? Can I have you sit with Joan and Joan can help you? Like, that's your job, is to see the problem, to say the problem, to give tools and resources to redress the problem, and then to give an incentive to what the mission is, the goal is after you've achieved solved this problem.
I love that. And recently I was listening to a book by Sean Acor called Big Potential. And one of the things that he talked about in there is that they've found, studying these things, that on teams that are effective, the thing that unites them over everything else, and even as you talk about, let's not talk about skills and structure right now, it was that psychological safety. And I think there's an immense amount of psychological safety in a situation where you can have that conversation. So I know you have more, so I won't slow you down, but
Yeah. No, that's perfect.
Right on point.
Absolutely. The next attribute that I see, that I see illustrated, particularly in people of color and Black women, is this culture of encouragement. You ain't never been encouraged and hyped up and cheerleaded until you've been cheerleaded by a Black woman. Now, there is some spicy language in this particular video, so if spicy language offends you, then you might want to cut this one out.
Oh, my favorite. Side. Baby girl. You set this motherfucker off. That's a bad motherfucker. Side. You know what? I put my hands up on this one, baby. You did your motherfucking thing, baby.
I hollered on that line.
Bad motherfucker here. You hear me?
Look at how proud Zai looks. So proud.
Damn.
So
You did your thing, baby.
I love it.
it's hilarious. And so listen, I know, and I've been in corporate for a very, very long time. I know that the energy that we can bring to situations can really uplift. I've seen it uplift and improve the sort of temperament and feelings of a team. Why then are we asked to turn it down? Right? Like, I mean, there's this sort of homogenizing that is attempted to be happening. And they're bringing all these D&I folks in and, trying to value diversity, but it's taking a long time for people truly to get the concept of what diversity means. Diversity, and without the salty language, but the energy that Black women can bring to the hyping up their team and really boosting morale is important. And I think it's something that we don't necessarily get a lot of credit for, but you ain't never been complimented like you've been complimented by a Black woman.
100%. And I guess you touched on it, but even the salty language piece, I want to ask you about for a moment, because I do get the sense that, just like some people get to be passionate and other people get to be angry, that an F-bomb from one end of the table and the other end of the table doesn't get treated the same way. Have you had any experience around that, or do you have any thoughts around that, where like because this is a level of exuberance and excitement, and I've seen it expressed other ways that I think are accepted?
Yeah, no, I mean, here's the thing. I think you got to understand the culture or the climate that you're in. I've worked in climates where that language at the boardroom would have been perfectly acceptable and everybody would have loved it. I've also worked in environments where, it's frowned upon. You just got to know the culture of the company that you're working for. And I'm not saying bogard your way through to make folks uncomfortable, because you still want to get your message across. And if
Right.
you're using language that is going to distract from your message, you might want to think about it. I am personally a cursor, and my team understands that, and I give them freedom, to be as open with their dialogue and language as they want to be, as long as it's respectful, obviously.
Of course, of course, of course.
But the real root that I'm trying to get, because here's the thing: we talked about direct and honest communication above. If you're not doing number two, the culture of encouragement, the culture of bigging people, like if I big you up, oh my God, Lando, that was hot, you did it. If I do that on 6 days, and then on the 7th day, I do the thing above where I give you some direct and honest feedback. The reason that woman can sit on the couch and take that feedback is because she gets number two.
Yes.
Right? She gets number two. So when she's given some negative feedback, she can be like, okay, let's do this. Let me get together.
There's a context for it. Absolutely.
That's exactly right. The third one, results orientation. I think we talk about this a lot. And I do want to spend some time really digging into this one, because this one is a double-edged sword. What results orientation means basically is we get stuff done, like objectively. This isn't smoke and mirrors. This isn't like, fanciful editing on my resume. Empirically, there is evidence that Black women, when they lead teams, actually get results. And we'll talk about it on the other side of this video.
Oh, yeah, and I like this comment here. There's nothing more scarier to the status quo than a powerful Black woman. Want to know why? Because in a world of opposition and gridlock, Black women get things done. Don't believe me? Who got most of Joe Rogan's podcast pulled from Spotify? It wasn't Neil Young. It was India Ari, a Black woman. Who got India to change their stances on homosexuality? Oprah, a Black woman. Who got Georgia to flip from red to blue? A Black woman, Stacey Abrams. Who started the Me Too movement and the Black Lives Matter movement? Black women. In the last 10 years, who's been some of the most controversial and prominent figures in white supremacy? Omarosa, Candace Owens, Diamond and Silk. Black women. If you really want to get something done, let Black women do it. Because Black women do it better than anybody else. Why? Because Black women change the world. It's what they do. It's what they do best.
So here's the so I agree with that. I do agree that there is an efficiency and productivity in the way that Black women attach to problems to get them solved. And it actually probably comes from number one, which is because emotional intelligence takes really understanding and being honest about who you are, but also what the situation is. And one of the things that I find prevalent in corporate America is a culture of people bullshitting each other. A culture of people, telling half-truths, mistruths in order to make their team or themselves look really good. They don't tell the senior leaders the true facts. It's all about, how can I manipulate this story so that I at least don't look bad and,
Right.
hopefully look good.
Right.
And one of the things I've noticed in Black female leadership is we ain't got time for that. Look, we missed in second quarter. And we didn't do this and this didn't happen. It is what it is. Now let's focus on how we fix that for quarter three. Other leaders will try to tap dance and, it's not, the numbers not what they look like. And it's, and I think that the ability to cut through the bullshit, to call a thing, what allows us to get things done.
And how can we, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, how can we effectively describe what you do? Like, so many Black women I've known personally and often are in my, what I call it, like my cabinet, basically, because I'm like, listen, I need to really know what's going on. How am I looking here? There's telling you what you need to hear as opposed to what you want to hear. How can we frame that in a professional setting, a corporate setting, in a way that can be understood more effectively or valued more, as you've been talking about it?
I don't know. If I knew that, honey, I'd be a billionaire. Let me tell you why. Because I have a bias towards direct honesty. It's probably why it made it to this list. But what I'm learning is that my intentions and what I expect out of my performance at work and what I'm trying to accomplish might not be aligned always with what other, like, so if you work for a company that truly has a bias towards truth, then you standing up and being like, hey guys, that one ain't gonna work, babe, you know, is not going to be met with negative intention, right?
Right.
But in some organizations it is, and it's going to be even more so met with sort of a negative attribution because of your race and because of your gender, you know. And so again, I really want to. My purpose today was to really to set up and explore these dimensions, not necessarily to solve for them.
Got it.
You know, I'm saying that. I'm saying that there are behaviors that we naturally have as leaders that doesn't get enough credit. And so if you don't get credit any other place for having these attributes than here, then come here and let us support you.
And
there.
we will see it. Got
Right.
it.
Now,
Yeah.
there might be another episode where we start to really peel back on, hey, let's talk about results orientation and how we get the white other to understand how valuable this attribute is. Okay, let's do that. But right now, I want you to know that your results orientation doesn't necessarily have to look, and it won't look like maybe the vast majority of senior leaders in your company, because you're coming at it from a perspective that is different, but effective. As this gentleman in this TikTok explains, we are effective. Why not just give us the reins and let us do what we do?
Seriously. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The next one I think is really interesting, and it's getting a lot of hot looks.
Oh, yeah, I like this.
Hot looks in social media around boundary setting. You know, have you been hearing people talk about my boundaries a lot more lately than Like boundary setting is sort of the new buzzword, and I don't mean to diminish it because I believe 100% in boundary setting, but you're seeing, I think, Black women be really out front and being vocal on saying what is a boundary for me and what isn't a boundary for me. We're doing it in our political spheres, we're doing it in our relational spheres, and we are now doing it in our work spheres. So I want to show you this video because if you go onto TikTok and actually watch the video live or watch it on TikTok, you can see the comments. It was a very divided comment section.
Oh, really?
Let's watch it and I'll show you why.
When a coworker interrupts your lunch, then you hear her discussing you in the hall.
Hey, did you see my? Oh,
I'm already at lunch. Yep. They'll have to wait.
So the debate that was happening in this woman's comment section is, fine. You can tell people. Oh, well, there was one group of debate that was. I mean, you could have just let the lady ask the question. Like you didn't have to say it like that, or the tone policing. Why was you so rude with it? That kind of thing.
Got it.
And then the other obviously part of the debate is because she was on her federally mandated lunch break and she ain't gotta,
This is not the time.
She just said, she didn't yell at the woman or cuss her out. She just said, nope, I'm on my lunch break. And that was a hard boundary for her. Regardless of whether you liked her tone or didn't like her tone, I think the EQ element that I want to point out here is the ability to know a boundary and to enforce a boundary that it does or does not work for you. I think that we should be encouraging leaders to, particularly really high up senior leaders, because this idea that because I'm a high up senior leader and you have my cell phone number, call me anytime, day or night. Honey, I've had managers be like, we're going to set this meeting up for Sunday. And I'm not talking about like, hey, we're finna IPO and we got to meet on Sunday to get
sure.
Or the building's on fire. We got to figure out where we're going to play. No emergency. This is we just need extra time in the week, so let's do it on a Sunday. And I, being the only Black leader on the team, is looking around the Zoom call, waiting for somebody to be like, "The hell you say? What?" And I felt weird because every other person who was a person not of color, was like, "Okay, well, like I got to get the kids over to their grandma." Yeah, and I'm like, "What are we talking about?"
Right.
Absolutely not. And all I was going to be doing is binge watching Netflix. Doesn't matter what I'm doing with that time.
That's your Sunday.
That's my Sunday, right? And so when you hear, when you see the results of Black women's non-ascension into the ranks of corporate America, we're at like abysmally low levels.
Right.
My theory is that this is one of the reasons they won't. We absolutely are not trying to mess with us. And screw them for that, because I think everybody should set a reasonable boundaries around what they will and will not accept in any aspect of their life. But because Black women have been at the forefront of being vocal about this, it is hurting us professionally, and I wish it weren't.
I'm wondering too, and I do want to keep it moving, but I'm wondering too if there's even an additional expectation of her, of you, of Black women in general, that you would be absolutely accepting of whatever it is and take care of whatever everyone's needs are. Yeah,
of course, absolutely, of course it is. It's it's particularly of Black women, but it's women generally. You know, male leaders see women, even the most high performing women, in a certain role and light, and it's very difficult for them to sort of hear and respect us in our humanity, and not just as this, this woman or this this Black person. So, and yeah, it's troubling, but I'm here to say, keep setting them boundaries. Your mental and physical health and well-being is the most important thing, and so you got to make some choices about your life. But I would not give up those boundaries. Okay, and then really quickly, the last one.
Yeah, no, you're great.
Is one of my favorites. I'm sure you've seen this on social before, but Black women's ability to get you together when you are being unjust or unfair to someone is just chef's kiss. It's one of the things I love most about us. Unafraid to defend someone who needs to be defended. So let's watch.
How you doing? My boyfriend was here earlier. He said that you wrote your phone number or his receipt, and I'm just here to check you and say, like, control your hormones or whatever's going on. I know he fine. His name Antoine. You work with her?
But the look, though, look.
I don't care about you, nor Antoine. When you walk in here, say good morning like we said to you.
Oh, okay. Good morning.
Yeah. I don't care about no Antoine. I don't care none of that.
I said good morning.
No, I'm asking you. You want to order food?
Yeah, I am. Can I finish with that? I want to check
I don't want to hear about none of that. You're not checkmating nothing in here.
Danita.
I'm checking all.
I'm
checking lists and everything.
Danita, it's Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho. Yes, baby. Right back at you. You want some chicken?
Oh, my God. All of y'all coming?
Yeah.
When they came out the back, okay.
Oh, my God. I thought I was in the suburbs. I thought this North Philly?
And Chester.
Northwest Chester.
Listen.
They called out the hood and the whole thing now.
Listen, you see how all of them in harmony, synchronized, syncopated, never missed a beat. What you're not finna do. I love it. And I love this energy. And this, you talk about safe spaces. How safe does that cashier feel now at
Exactly
work?
right.
She's been defended, and so the corollary for us is some of us get into these boardrooms, some of us are the onlys in these boardrooms. And I ask, who are you defending? Who are you supporting? Who are you giving a platform to, even when they're not in the room? That the ability to be able to do that and have courage of your conviction to defend someone, even when it might be unpopular in the room, that's really strong EQ. And I see it a lot in Black leaders.
And I it's interesting the way you frame that, because I think I've seen it my whole life, being around Black women, but also because I feel like this energy in this video is Stacey Abrams turning Georgia blue.
Yes,
This
ma'am.
energy is Insecure taking over, and all of a sudden we've gone from, oh, this thing on the internet nobody knows what to do with, to, you know, Issa Rae, you
Right.
know, is being in the stratosphere. I just think there's a power in, yes, that voice that you're describing, but also I think in the sense that, like, we're not going to let you isolate anybody. We're not going to let you do that. And even if they're not in the room as you described, no. That's still my crew. These are my people.
And even if I saw, I debated between posting this one and there's another one that was a POV TikTok post where the young woman was basically she was pretending that she was talking to a teacher who had basically said something derogatory about an Asian student, you know, and this was a Black woman who was basically like, you're not gonna talk to him like that, you know, da, 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 da. But my point is, it doesn't even have to be our crew. We hate people being treated unfairly. Now, you know,
I love that distinction.
right? You just can't treat people. Justice is in our blood because we've been doubly oppressed. So the idea that when we smell or feel like something feels unjust, we're gonna feel a certain kind of way and hopefully act upon that to be able to merit out justice.
Yeah, and this is fascinating. I was fascinated when I looked at the deck. You know, I texted you back like, oh, this is amazing. So yeah, as you're at this piece here and the EQ of it all, what can someone step away with today? Are they just thinking about these and how they've shown up in their lives and how it might translate? Like, what would that piece be for them?
You know, for me, what I would like people to understand is that, you know, your companies may send you to training and send you to development and to try to, you know, they're spending all of these thousands of dollars a year per employee to help people build these skills, right? How many trainings have we gone through? And and I know for myself, I sit through those EQ trainings and I'm like, I already know this, bro, you know. And I'm actually quite amazed at how many people don't know this. So my point is to say, if you have been feeling a certain kind of way about the way that you're assessed as a leader, you know, maybe you're getting meets expectations on your performance evaluation. It's the third or fourth year in a row. You're like, but I feel like I'm killing it. And my results say that I'm killing it. But in my management's eyes, they see me as a meets. That can play horribly on your self-confidence as a leader. I'm here to say, bump that, dude. I have shown you 5 examples in our natural living lives that explain why you got EQ out the window. And really, and we may need to come back.
Yeah.
The real problem is the purple box. The purple circle with the structures that don't allow our natural EQ and our natural experiences and skill sets and academic credentials to come to bear on our leadership success. That's the problem.
And it's interfering. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was gonna say. Go ahead.
No, just say it's interfering not just with Black women's success, but even with some of the numbers you've shared with me otherwise and things you've shown me otherwise. It's interfering with organizational success.
Listen, Black woman's success is organizational success.
Yeah.
So absolutely, if you are a company or a person within a company with power who has the power to be able to effectuate these structural barriers to success of any employee, though systemically we see that it affects Black women the most because we are least likely to elevate into advanced leadership roles. Fix this crap. We're coming with the skill set. We're coming with the EQ. Fix this stuff. That's my point, is that, and I agree. Next, other series of us talking, let's dig into the structures and how we can effectuate change within that structure. But feel confident that you have 2/3 of you as a leader has 2/3 of the equation to really effectuate successful leadership. And don't feel discouraged. You do have it. You already have it.
Yeah.
You got to get it, make sure it gets seen.
I one, I would love to come back to all three of these circles. I think there's so much to unpack within them, but I love the way you've positioned the EQ, because again, that I've seen it and I've experienced it. And I feel like even in developing, and we talked about this as I was developing We Align and getting ready to launch, it was clear to me that frankly, if this worked for Black women, it was going to work for everybody. It wasn't that it was exclusively for Black women, but I got that piece. And all the things you're talking about here are the things that I thought about, especially those women coming out from behind, at that fast food restaurant. To me, that's the energy. It's like, not today. And maybe you might have the power to take on one of us and act the fool, but here we all come. So that's it.
And so, and I actually, it's funny, two Black leaders, because there are very few of us, senior leaders in many organizations, bring that KFC energy, like you gotta group up. I've been in some scenarios where even Black leaders are like, let me just keep my head down and worry about my bag. And I get it. It's exhausting trying to do this. But where you can pair up with other either BIPOC leaders or white allies to effectuate change in this purple circle, you not only do justice for those people who are underrepresented, you actually help the organization in better culture, better productivity, higher sales, higher EPS shares, and there's plenty of documentation that this is the fact and this is a case. So, the goal here is to dismantle structures that don't allow our natural leadership abilities to shine through.
Love this. Love this. So I know, we promised on time, so I don't want to keep you, extra time, but I absolutely want to keep discussing this. And thank you so much, as always. You always have a good time when we get to chat a little bit.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Orlando. See you soon.
Take care now. Yep. Bye-bye.